Well, we are back for another episode, and as always, I love to hear from my guest who's joining me now. He is someone who worked very hard in the first term that President Trump had to help rein in and push back against misinformation in high places. People who were, as we know, Dr. Fauci and many other names that people may have heard or not heard, who were doing a lot of damage to the American people. And my guest today, evidence-based scientist Dr. Paul Alexander, joins us now. How you doing, sir?
Hey, David, first of all, it's huge praise for the veterans today and for all of those who have fallen in sacrifice. They're better human beings than me, than us. Always a pleasure and an honor and a privilege to be on your show. I mean, we know each other years now, and you are one of them that have been in the background with your platform, putting on people like me, etc., who we were canceled in this work, cancel culture, and you gave us platform, but you've been driving the kind of discussions that we need in America to save America. And lo and behold, I did serve in President Trump's first administration as a senior advisor, and I would serve again. I have no problem with that. And he won. So we are about to enter a new 4-year period, and we are going to depend on you, people like you, David, and your platform to bring the right people to talk. And we need to hold Trump's feet to the fire. Everybody in his administration, feet to the fire. This is Trump's war. This is going to be his 4-year battle to save America. And we need to decide either we are on his army, in his army or not. I am in his army full. And I appreciate the chance to talk today.
And you're with Trump because you want to protect him from a lot of the snakes, the grifters, the liars, even people with highly, fantastic credentials who are captured by crony interests, particularly in the world of pharmaceutical interests and narratives, but also in, military adjacent industries that want to make money with things like gain of function research, which is highly dangerous and volatile. So we'll get into all of that. But, first, folks, for people who are not familiar, tell people quickly, just in, 30 seconds, your background and your, why you were brought into the Trump administration.
Well, okay, quickly, 30 seconds. My background in education is in evidence-based medicine, clinical epidemiology from University of Toronto in Canada. So I did some Johns Hopkins work in biowarfare. I schooled at Oxford in evidence-based medicine and McMaster. And so around 2019, World Health Organization asked me to join them, Geneva and PAHO in DC, to develop a training program for low and middle income countries in conducting basic research and how to write scientific evidence and conduct statistical analysis. Whilst doing that, this COVID thing started to emerge in China and Lombardy, Italy. So I transitioned to be WHO's pandemic advisor in December 2019, the early 2020 January. By around April of 2020, Trump people, the Oval Office, reached out to me and told me that they had struck up the task force that we all got to know about, Fauci, Birx, Hahn, all of these, I call them today the clown car show that we were dealt with. And they asked, the Oval Office asked me to come to Washington to function as an interface, a middle between Health and Human Services, so that's Alex Azar and the whole team, all of the task force and the White House in terms of explaining to my bosses direct. So I had straight line reporting to Azar and dotted line reporting to the Oval Office, White House. And my job really was to make the science layman for the bureaucrats so they could understand what the hell Fauci and they were doing and saying. Because from day one, as I landed in Washington, the end of April, I realized that Fauci and Birx and Hahn and all of these, they were undercutting President Trump. They were all working to subvert him. The deep state, they told me, we work here every day to destroy President Trump. And my job today is, Trump can get 100,000 people right now applying for jobs. His challenge, like in the first term, will be who can he trust? Because most of these people detest President Trump. I'll be blunt. They detest. Many people you see right now in the news looking for jobs, they don't like President Trump. They just want some taxpayer money. They want to use it to promote themselves.
And
He needs
they want to
people.
make a revolving door relationship with the special interests that control DC's health policy. Let's be clear about that. That's what's going on.
Exactly.
So they're just going to sweet talk, put in a little MAGA language, use a little rhetoric, show their little credentials from some fancy school or Ivy League, and then just do everything they can to slow walk or disrupt the will of the American people, which is to rein in the criminal behavior of big pharma and other, special interests that have had their tentacles controlling the American people's healthcare and public health policy for decades. It's got to end, and it needs to have folks like you who are
Yep.
bulwarks for actually doing the will of the people. The will of the people gave a strong mandate that they don't want any more funny business with lockdowns. They don't want any more school closures harming children. They don't want to have any more shenanigans as it relates to vaccine passports. That has to end. They don't want any more gain of function research where people are being, in all kinds of foreign countries, taxpayer dollars being used in conjunction with people like Peter Daszak and military apparatuses to do things which are extremely dangerous and had catastrophic loss of life. The people want answers. They want transparency as to what happened, and they want to make sure that that stuff will never happen again. Dr. Alexander, you were one of the few people in the room pushing back against every one of those things I just mentioned.
Mhm.
Will you be able to deliver in stopping these things and making sure we have full accountability, including
Yes.
including the ability to make sure this never happens again?
Well, absolutely. Because remember, in the first administration, on the inside, it was people like me, Scott Atlas, etc. We were fighting Fauci, Burks, the NIH, CDC, and it was monumental wars. In fact, when they had their select subcommittee hearings in the Congress, Democrat led, when they did the reports, they wrote about me. They wrote how I fought CDC and the things that I would say and the emails that I would send, questioning Fauci, calling him out, questioning the NIH. So people like me were persona non grata. And the reality, though, is this: there was a dictum when we had meetings and people were being introduced, different doctor this, scientist that, colonel this, whatever. When it came to me, the directors would always say no to Trump or anybody. They say no, Dr. Alexander here, he's the guy that if President Trump called him personally at 2 a.m. in the morning and said, Paul, come to the White House with a lawnmower and you cut the front of the grass and the rose garden, Paul will pull up with a lawnmower. He supported Trump that much. And I'm not a sycophant or nepotistic person. If you read my Substacks or my blog, you would realize that I hold Trump's feet to the fire. But I also know things that a lot of people don't. Some of it I can't ever speak about. But he is fundamentally a good man. He loves his country, he loves the flag, and he wants to do good. What he needs is people like you, David, and I argue people like myself, people who love country, love flag, love constitution, Christians, conservative people, libertarians. We want to fix America. We don't want no more games, no funny business, as you said. He needs people he can trust that will not be subverting him. That's the key. We don't care how technologically advanced you are and how much IT you know, and if you have an IV from Harvard. We could put all of that together too.
Yeah.
That's not what we bring to the table. We bring character, we bring honesty, and we want to save America. Let me be blunt, I am a nativist. I am a sovereigntist first. My country first before any other country. I want to save my land, my people first.
Well, that's what, my role as someone who covered this pandemic as it was happening live every day
Mhm.
on broadcast radio, FM, AM radio. I had to have the call-ins from people scared out of their minds, people who were, sick, didn't know what to do. There was so much misinformation. The famous FDA tweet about, stop taking horse drug. You're not a horse, y'all. That the disgusting stuff. Every bit of that has to stop. And we need a watchdog, someone who can go in there, and it's not going to be just one person because you got these giant, massive labyrinthine bureaucracies. But I hope that you and other folks like you that I have gotten to know through many, many shows, starting at the beginning of that pandemic and all the way through the years that we have now, till now, that can really pursue the truth. The truth will set us free, and that's kind of what I put you on this show today because, again, we don't have time to jeopardize our opportunity to give the people some accountability, and I hope that folks such as yourself who are willing to go on media programs like what we do here and really get to the brass tacks of things can have an opportunity to do that. So I don't know anything about government bureaucracy, how it works or anything, but I think that, so I don't know, I look at the CDC, I look at NIH, I look at FDA, you get the overarching Health and Human Services. You've got all these different tentacles doing different things. What do the American people need to understand if they want to have accountability for these bureaucracies?
Well, I think what people need to understand, first of all, is having been there, many agencies and units within the agencies are defunct and they actually do no work. People are highly paid and highly underworked. And I think President Trump would be in good standing to maybe examine them across the board. Some people say close 90%. I mean, that's impossible. Close 50%. I think there's a number of agencies that must be closed immediately because they have no role and they're just wasting taxpayer money. Second, I think that he should look at all of the alphabets, particularly the health alphabet, CDC, NIH, NIAID, FDA. HHS is the umbrella agency because HHS is the umbrella. And he could safely cut maybe 1,000 staff in each of these top down, from the top down. Because you see, a lot of these people were Obama holdovers. They did not go. They were Bush holdovers, Clinton holdovers, and then Obama holdovers. And now Biden, in Biden's 4 years, they have placed people inside the administration at the highest levels. They spent the 4 years getting confirmed in these government positions. And a confirmed government position is one where, because the government is unionized, etc., you can't just terminate them. But what Trump can do is he can move them. In other words, you can't take away somebody's salary and benefits, but you can move them laterally. You could create an agency where just you go out there and sit on pasture. I can't fire you under law, but I'm going to send you over there. Yeah, well, I can't stop even paying you the salary because you're a confirmed federal employee, but you'll go over there and do nothing. I don't want you here anymore.
Is that cabinet positions, or you're talking about even bureaucrats underneath them have unfireable positions? What are you saying?
Cabinet positions Trump could fire because they serve at the pleasure of the president. But
federal employees?
If you get a confirmed position in the federal government,
that's interesting.
You can't just fire.
What's the difference? No. Help people understand that. I'm not familiar with that. So what does that mean, confirmed?
Well, Trump is coming into office and he can appoint up to about 5,000 to 6,000 political appointees, each president. Right now, it's about 5,800 or so political appointees across government. So that means that people who helped him in his campaign, people who helped him in the last administration.
And those are confirmed or unconfirmed, or what?
Unconfirmed. Those are just given positions by the president that at the end of the administration they have to go.
Okay.
They are just so it's all. I wouldn't say it's a favor or a payback. It's just people who have demonstrated loyalty to the president.
Well, it makes sense from the founder's perspective that there would be first of all, there shouldn't be this labyrinthine executive branch that is unaccountable to the people, right? But the presidency is actually what's delineated in the Constitution. So it would make sense that the people that should represent the will of the people are people that come with the president, right? To make sure that the unelected bureaucracy that you're saying, those are the confirmed ones that can't be fired. Is that what the law says, or where does that go?
Yeah, so those are political appointees, but the federal government is largely made up of people who are confirmed, meaning that they have passed some kind of process and they were offered a job with a set salary, and you do your job and only for
So
cause.
it's like a kind of tenure or something that they have, like universities have.
No, not tenure.
Not like that.
You could be fired for cause, meaning if you
Okay.
misbehave and you do something wrong, you can be fired. But most of these people in government are not fired because first of all they're union positions, so the union normally would, and they could cause a huge. The only people who demonstrate to demonstrate what I mean was, if you remember when we were young kids, David, you and me, there was a problem in America in Reagan's presidency with the air traffic
Yeah.
controllers. They went on strike.
Yeah.
And the union said, "Oh, President Reagan, you can't fire them," and blah, blah, blah. We will grind the whole airline industry to a halt if
Mhm.
you fire them. Reagan said, because they could have done that. But Reagan said, "Go ahead, I'm going to fire all." People thought he was nuts. He fired all air traffic controllers in America. And then he brought in immediately all of the air traffic controllers from the Air Force and the Navy. They ran our airline industry until we got air traffic controllers trained and blah blah blah. So you have to be that aggressive. Um, that's a huge
Yeah.
battle by
Well,
itself.
I have my wheels are turning while you're talking, and I'm thinking to myself, well, this program just had a little bit of success there connecting Ron Paul to Elon Musk. And, Elon Musk has this Department of Government Efficiency that he wants to do, which doesn't have to be people, oh, there's no department like that. It doesn't have to be an official department. We don't need any official department. In fact,
No,
I would recommend that anybody who works in any kind of program for government efficiency not receive any taxpayer dollars themselves so that they come in as purely consultants to trim actual waste, fraud, and abuse that's being used against the taxpayers and our bureaucracy. And I think just the way you're talking about how labyrinthine all these different federal employees situation is, that this would be a job for Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency plan, and to be able to get in there and slice and dice and cut and reorganize and help people who are great people find better jobs in the private sector than what they're doing in wasteful situations in the federal bureaucracy. So I guess that sounds like something that needs to happen. That Elon coming, because we've heard Elon talking about this in a broader sense, but hopefully somebody within that initiative can have the ability to cut through and know, what can be done to consolidate, to shut certain departments, to shut certain stuff, and to help folks who are really talented, who are doing a great job, find jobs in the private sector to get out of this, the bureaucracy in the federal government. So, would you be willing to help Elon Musk if asked to get into that and help?
absolutely. Look, my skills, my doctoral training, and what I did in terms of work at IDSA in America, at World Health, Trump administration, Canadian government, my skills are transferable academically and skill wise, expertise wise. So I could work anywhere, in any area. So I'd help you learn. Put it this way, as I've said, I've put my feelers out and I said, look, I served in the Trump administration prior, and if I'm asked formally, right now they're trying to select high-level cabinet positions, etc.
Yeah.
But there are a range of places that one could fit in, that you could fit into. But
I'm
you might
interested in.
say,
I want to stay in the media world, but I do think it's important that folks like you who could, influence public policy again, have an open and transparent relationship with programs like myself, and that's why I
absolutely,
like talking to you. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's where we can have real accountability in government. These people who will only go on, outlets that are highly controlled by the permanent class of power in DC. They only go on 60 Minutes once a year if they're lucky, to give their pronouncements from on high, from the NIH or CDC, like Fauci does. These highly choreographed programs. That era's got to end. This election was won by the podcast media, which I'm glad to be a part of in any small
yes,
way. And that's the way the new town's going to have to be set. Is that folks like you or don't and you won't, I don't think I know you wouldn't do that, but there's so many folks that once they get a position from the grassroots, they go off and you never hear about them. But we need to be able to have that public transparency as much can be discussed publicly with programs that are actually in touch with the people, like what we do on A Neighbor's Choice. So I think that's got to happen. And I know that, you know, that's something that you would probably be all about, as long as you're allowed to speak to the media. I don't know the rules there, but
Yeah. Yeah, and but the reality is, like full disclosure, you don't want to speak, say exactly what you, but like for example, Bobby Kennedy and me had a conversation about a month and a half ago, so it's before the election, and I made it clear that I wasn't clear on what his role was in any transition team, etc. But I said, Bobby, because we knew each other before, and I really like the guy in terms of what he stands for and his technical knowledge. He reads a lot and he questions a lot. And I said, if we get to work together, if there's any way I can help, I'll be, And he said, Paula, I'll tell you, he said, Paula, I'm very appreciative to know that you would. I said, well, of course, I worked in the Trump administration before most of everybody who is now coming around. I call them, a lot of them are snakes, and they're just looking. These people are not. I can tell you, this is a troubling thing for us to say, but I could say a lot of people you see milling around in the media now and talking about getting to work with Trump, and a lot of these people never supported President Trump. They don't even support him today. They could say certain things to make you think that they're MAGA now. So what Trump really needs are loyalists, real loyalists. And I'll tell you, when I spoke to the people in 2016, well, actually, I joined in 2020 to the Trump administration, and I was on the phone in the show, and I thought they were punking me, saying we're calling from the U.S. government, blah blah blah, from the White House. So I said, but why me? I come from an island. Yeah, I'm highly educated and all that crap. I worked at World Health, but why me? And they said, well, we already understand. We know you. We've done our due diligence on you, and I'm talking about they'd vetted me before even speaking to me. We know a few things about you, so we understand your knowledge and your education, but we know that you support President Trump. You like him. You're a conservative kind of libertarian guy, and we understand from the things you've said, because I was in media a lot then, talking a lot of politics. We understand that he could trust you, and this is the exact words, he is looking for a few people right now that he can trust to place in HHS, and you are one of them, and that's why we're calling you, and that's it. And I can say today, he can still trust me because I understand what he wants to do. I don't want to get into his personal life and all that crap. Not my business.
Right. And I know you're the kind of patriot that you would do this for $0, if you had it, just like Trump would give away his paycheck to serve, because it's not about power. It's not about money. It's about saving lives. There are lots of people right now who are 6 feet under the ground right now that shouldn't be. Millions. Yep. That's a fact. There are lots of people right now who have shuttered businesses, who have children with serious afflictions, traumatic social development that they can never recover from, and people with injuries. Let's talk about that. That supposedly, this wonderful product, but there's a lot of people with injuries that need accountability for what happened with the way that was rolled out and how it was sold to the president too, by those who supposedly had his back. Like you said, it's not about really having Trump's back. It's about having the American people's back. It's not his government. It's not anybody's government. It's the American people's government. That's the way the founders worked for it. That's the way it's always going to have to be if it's going to have any chance of survival, because it has to tell the truth. And the truth is, everybody in D.C. works for the American people. And the American people made it clear, no matter what shenanigans they do, that they can deliver a sound, strong mandate to tell people, we don't want what you've been doing. Stop it. Stop it on every level, to the point where even places like California and New York are starting to get close to turning red if the red is not backed by big pharma trash, like always, and all this other shenanigans that are harming people. There's a lot of people in D.C. and all these people that swim around, these little lobbyists, that, again, will use all the right rhetoric. I like America. I like this. We got to help the people. They'll even say stuff like what I'm saying. They'll say, we got to rein in special interests. They'll say all that stuff. And at the end of the day, they will turn a blind eye to the suffering of the people. People like my family, people like my friends who suffered because of the disgusting misinformation and lying, trash, criminal policies of agencies like The CDC, the
HHS.
NIH, the FDA, every one of those people needs to be held accountable. They killed people in cold blood because of their dereliction of duty to the American people. And if there isn't an accountability, it will be stronger than they've ever seen in 4 years and more. It won't even be 4 years. So the days of this shenanigans, the status quo from the Senate Republicans and the House establishment, that's not going to cut it anymore. We need strong, real, precise, God-fearing people because that's who gives us the power. The
Yes.
founding father said that the government gives us our natural rights. The founders understood that it is the right and the duty of the American people to alter or dissolve any such aspect of government that tramples on our rights. And that includes the right to have a government that's not actively killing its own people.
Well, David, I think you hit the nail on the head. The reality is we are into the fifth year of this thing called COVID. And I argue that they even started an operation of sorts before that. And let me tell you this. You use the term that is shocking. I've used it before and I'll say it again. It is not any virus, etc. It was the medical response. It was what we did in Operation Warp Speed response that killed most with the isolation, the sedatives, propofol, midazolam, fentanyl, the remdesivir that blew up kidneys and lungs, livers, and then the ventilator. We killed people with the COVID response, and there are so many people that must be investigated because we are good governance society, right? So we want proper tribunals, we want proper hearings, but their actions must be investigated because you said it correctly. Too many people are not alive today who should be alive today. And it is really a staggering thing when I went to DC. So because the deep state made it clear to me. I remember we got invited to Trump's hotel in Washington. President Trump invited myself and Dr. Atlas and a few people to come and have some beers, to have some drinks after work one day. So a lot of stress because the campaign was ramping up. And I remember there was a State Department official, and I believe he was more Democrat than Republican. So we were just chatting, and he told me straight. I asked him. I said, so what's your view on President Trump? The election is in a couple of months, and he made me understand that the deep state. I really understood it by talking to him. The deep state is real, and the deep state runs America, and the deep state owns America. And he was blunt. He said, Trump is only visiting here. This is his last year. If he wins re-election, he might be here for 4 more. But we own this thing. Trump is just passing through. And that shocked me the way he said. That's how they think. They think the president is powerless, the executive branch. And they do everything to make the president powerless, especially if you're not of the same party. I can tell the people something. When I arrived in Washington, and I went to the HR people that was there in the building at the HHS to say, this is me. And I was told, come here to pick up my work, my government-issued laptop, government-issued cell phone, blah, blah, blah. They told me clearly, you're a Trump appointee. You're a Trump guy. We will do nothing, not even a pencil you will get. We will not put the proper code on the photocopier. You can't even print a document. That's to tell you how evil these people in government are. They're highly worked, highly underpaid, and Trump needs to spend these next 4 years removing all the Obama holdovers, all the Biden holdovers, and place it with real patriots. They don't have to be MAGA people, but they have to be people who love the country, want to serve the people, the country, and not just there for a salary. People who are not subverting America. We need to get them out. We need to get them out.
I mean, I wrote down a few ideas for reform, for public health, things like, mandatory public disclosure of funding sources, especially for the gain of function research. That has to happen. You got to prevent those kind of conflicts of interest, to say the
The
least.
gain of function research must be stopped.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
We need to have, I put down, we need to have executive orders to limit the revolving door between these agencies and the pharmaceutical industry and any other industry that's making a killing off of the public being mismanaged in their health. We need, I think, having an independent watchdog body that's not, again, a drain on taxpayer dollars. I think people should do this stuff voluntarily. That's you do
Mhm.
it as a service, literally a service. Okay. And maybe there's ways to like raise donations from the public, you know what I mean? Like in a nonprofit way to
Mhm.
finance a kind of actual watchdog with some real teeth to it that could actually keep these agencies accountable and make sure that they have public health, not profit, as their main concern. I think we should reform the peer review process to actually pull it out of the tentacles of groups that have industry ties. That's how they manipulate everything in the first place. Oh, you can't use this drug because they don't have the gold standard like we have. This nonsense has got to stop. You can't have, oh, we can't push this generic drug. It's because of the emergency use authorization that so many generic drugs, of course, you pointed that out very clearly over and over again in all my discussions with you on my show and around everybody else's show. So that has to stop. And, we need to have public forums where these decisions, like what Fauci made or anything, hopefully they never happen again, these decisions. You need to be able to have a public forum where people can talk about injuries to products that they're supposed to not talk about, being
Mhm.
treated like pariahs because they have an injury that doesn't fit with the narrative. This is disgusting. You can't have a free country if that's the way that's going to continue. That's got to stop. You got to be able to have people outside of these agencies, like all the people that are, who fought for the truth, scientists, people who are good with ethics, people who understand moral dignity, faith leaders, all these folks need to be able to have a public forum that the government avails itself to be able to address any of the things that they're doing that's harming the public. And of course, agencies need to be downsized. And that's going to be the legacy of Trump. Can he drain the swamp in public medicine and healthcare? Like hopefully he can. So that the news to that State Department official that said that to you, you don't own the government. You
No.
don't. You don't own the government. You don't even own your body, buddy. God
Yeah.
owns your body, and you
Yeah.
have to be accountable. And that accountability will happen one way or the other. You will be held accountable in this life and the next life. You'll be held accountable by the people who have all the energy. We got way more energy than these little stultified bureaucrats who sit
Mhm.
around and eat cold shrimp. Doesn't mean anything to us. We've got more energy in our pinkies than they have in their entire body. And we're going to call for special counsel investigations. We
Yes,
need to have
there
a
must
special
be.
counsel criminal investigation to uncover any criminal lies, fraud that was committed with Fauci, Dazak. Anybody else you'd like to look into? You
Oh
know,
yeah, well, all of them. I think President Trump. We need special counsel to look at everyone in the task force. I mean, because the reality about it is a lot of these people hurt him, and a lot of these people knew. This is the fact that they knew that the lockdowns were not working and couldn't work. They knew the school closures were not working and could not work. They knew the business closures were causing business owners to commit suicide. Yet they extended them and hardened them. And I remember Deborah Burks wrote, one of the task force people, and she said in an interview, and I think she's somebody we must go back and have in a proper hearing under oath properly, because she said that we knew that once we got Trump to bite for the 2 weeks to bend the curve, it was over. He didn't know that we were not going to reopen, but we told him, me and Tony told him that give us 2 weeks to bend the curve. And Trump came out on the podium and he said, well, we're back by Easter, we'll be back. He didn't know that they were screwing him. And she admitted that. She said, we just needed him to bite for 2 weeks and he will never be able to open. And he couldn't. Because how could a developer from New York then come on the stage after 2 weeks and say, okay, it's time to open? The task force is saying keep it closed, but I say open. Then we would have thought Trump was crazy. So they knew what they were doing. So all of these people need proper investigations. They need to be investigated. They need to answer under oath what they knew, when they knew it, etc. because American people want accountability now. We want justice as we move forward. We do.
So the takeaway from this interview, folks, Dr. Paul Alexander, who served in the first term with Trump and did what he could to stop the criminal behavior and the lies and misinformation
Yeah.
from those at the top with Fauci and so forth. Dr. Paul Alexander's willing to return to finish the
Oh
job.
yeah. I will work with Kennedy. I'll work with anybody. I will be in any agency that needs me, and I will do my best for 4 years, mainly to protect President Trump and to advance the American people. And the reality about it, David, is the next 4 years is not going to be easy because a lot of damage has been done. I mean, just thinking about the border issues, the economy issues, and all of that, but a lot of damage was done healthcare wise. A lot, the country is not even begun to heal from COVID. So we have to work on President Trump to hold his feet to the fire too, to make sure that he gets to the bottom of this. But you know, one good thing he can do is reverse the liability protection that AZAR and they gave under the PrEP Act to the vaccine makers and the CDC officials, etc., so that we can go into court and sue these people. And actually, I would ask President Trump to make it retroactive, put it back to March 20th, 2020. He can also consider setting up some kind of victim compensation fund. So all of those people harmed by the lockdowns, who lost family, can get something to make them whole again. He can set up a whistleblower protection, a whistleblower entity where doctors and scientists who knowingly they did wrong can come forward. Let them come forward and under secrecy and whistleblower and say who you reported to, why you did what you did, etc., and use that for us to get to the bottom of this. So there are so many things that need to be done, but again, the most important thing, David, is he needs people who are not working and conspiring to subvert him. So that remember the he has 5,000 political appointees to make, but the federal government has, I believe, almost a couple million, something like that, staff.
Yeah.
So President Trump can't hire all those people. Some people in different departments do that. He delegates the responsibility downwards. So he would want people who he can trust that have his same vision for America running these agencies, etc. And that's where the problem comes in. You have a lot of people who don't align with you and work against you, and so you know, so that's the thing. And but I think look, in the 1960s, America survived assassinations, peace and love, Vietnam War, and we survived it.
Yeah.
America could survive what Harrison they did, Biden and they did the last 4 years, what Obama and they did before. They could survive COVID, but we need proper accountability, and we need justice, and we need to see it. And but I think I have so much hope given this Trump victory for the future, and the kind of future that he could help shape for our kids. But we need to put in some serious work now.
Well, I appreciate your time. The truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. I just want to say that. The truth will set you free. So when you follow the truth, that's how the people become free. And ultimately, this change is not going to happen at the government level. It's going to happen with people changing their attitudes, the way they get caught up in groupthink going along with these shenanigans. That whole cultural transformation, that's what's going to drive things forward. And the first step to being able to do that is being able to tell the truth about yourself. This is for my audience and all of us, to tell the truth about yourself and what you may not know and what you may have been confused by or manipulated by or still may be confused by to this day. And being able to have a truthful assessment of yourself is the first step to being able to tell the truth about others, including your government. And then acting accordingly is how we'll change things. So I appreciate your time. Any last thought?
So my last thoughts is this. I think we have a good opportunity here when you look at the breadth and the depth of Trump's victory. We can't gloat over those who lost. Remember, a lot of people voted for the other side too. America right now is sharply divided politically.
Mhm.
So this is an opportunity for President Trump to find the words and the empathy and the gracious mercy to unify this country, because the country needs unification now. And but I think fundamentally, Trump brings to the table something that most people, he's actually a simple man. He comes across complicated, but he's simple in a few things. One, you have no question that he loves America. He loves his flag. He loves the military. He loves the Constitution, law and order. And we have somebody who we could work with. He may not be perfect, and he's not perfect. He's made many mistakes too. But it is our job as the American people to keep him into compliance by we pointing out, we having shows like yours and raising mistakes they make so they could see it and hear it and try and fix it. So that's our job. We are the watchdog. We are like the Praetorian Guard now for America. You, David, you are like a real Roman Praetorian Guard. And we need to work with you. If you give us the voice, give us a platform, but with your expertise and the way you lead, we could help keep the government in check and keep everybody doing what they need to do and not misbehaving. Because even though we might think we have victory here and we're putting in people into government, a lot of them might misbehave. And that's where we come in.
Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's what the media is supposed to do. That's what we're going to do, is hold people accountable. And again, the culture transformation is the number one thing that will drive change. Dr. Alexander, thank you for your time. I appreciate what you've done, and we will talk soon.